This is Gemara and Yoma Daf Nona Dalit. All the learning for this month, the month of Sivan, has been generously sponsored as a special shidduch for Yisrael Chaim ben Nevaira. Mirza Hashem, you should find the Ziva Kaglin Bakara with ultimate clarity. Of course, our Chilin Naftali Siman Achlas Rivka Bas Hashem Mechalin Sibar Nathali Huva Svim and Figure the Vermin Dina Edel Machine Mindal Li Racha Bas Musa Milchai Bas Min Li Daniel ben Chan Riza Shmuel ben Tila Ben Shava Figure Shir Chana Shlomi Bas Namia Le the President Shavleah Yoshiel ben Mindal Ita Bas Yam Bas Chayse Yisar Bas Kanand Shlomo Siban as well as a shidduch for Atalea Bas Ita. We're holding on the bottom of Nun Gimel Amid Beis. We just finished the Mishnah. The first half of the Mishnah taught about Mishanit El Aron. When the Aron was taken, when we no longer have the Aron in the second Misa Mikdash, which is what we're going to begin with today. And then the second half of the Mishnah, the rest of had another portion of the Avaida of the Kohen Gadol. We had the Ketairis number 1. We had the sprinkling of the par inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, of the Seir inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, followed by the par on the Pareichas outside, the Seir outside. Finally, the mixing the two bloods together, which we'll get to in a few moments. Says the Gemara, Mishanigna Zaloikatani, the Mishnah does not say when the Aron was hidden, Ela Mishanita Al Tanan. What does Ela Mishanita, but the Mishnah says when it was taken. Says the Gemara, Tanan Command, Amar Aron Galil Bavel. This fits with the Mandamar that says the Aron went into Galus, the Tani we learned in the Raisa. Hopefully this should ring a bell. We learned this together in Shkalim. Rav Eliezer Omer Aron Gil Bavel, the Aron was exiled to Bavel. Shenemar, as the Torah says, the Shuvas Hashana Shalach HaMelech Nebuchadnezzar. And the pasuk in Navi continues, Vayehu, Vayehu bechala im kli chandas beis Hashem. And then Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, he explains Aron Galil Bavel, a different pasuk. Shenemar lo yised dvar Hashem, dvar Amar Hashem. What's dvar? Ilu aseres hadibrois shavai. These aseres hadibrois that was no longer there. It went into Galus. Rav Yud ben Lakish Omer Aron b'makayim nignaz. No, it did not go into Galus. Rather, it was buried in its place right there in the Kodesh HaKadoshim underground. They buried the Aron. Shenemar Vayeru Rashi Abadim in HaKodesh Al Penei Advir V'lo Yeru Achutz, and it was not visible outside. The pasuk concludes, "Vayu sham ad hayoim hazeh," and it was there until this very day, seemingly teaching us that it was buried right there, and that's where it was. Mamash ad hayoim hazeh, until nowadays. Says the Gemara, Pligi Ula, on the previous price argues on Ula Damar Ula Shahil. Ramazi ben Charis of Shimon Yochai Beraimi. He asked him in Rome, Chimiach Shavalezim Lamdei Rishayna Ushniya Aron Gal Bavel Rishayna Hadamaran. The first time it went into Bavel is that which we said of Yavam Im Kli Chandas Beis Hashem went with other Kalim. Shini Amai. What was the second time that the Aron went into Bavel? Galus in Bavel. D'chsev V'yatza Mibas Yoin, that it left from the daughters of Sion, went out. As we move over to Non Daled Amid Aleph Kol Adara, that the pasuk says they went out Kol Adara, referring to all its dar splendor. Michael Adara, the Gemara explains Chadra Asa Chadra. What is referred to? It refers to Chadra, refers to the area which is concluding the Aron that was no longer there. Ata Omer, you tell me, my Ata, Ata mai ata oimer. You Rav Shimon Achai, what do you say? Amar lo, Rav Shimon Achai responds, Shani oimer Aron b'makay my nignas. Like we just said a moment ago, I hold the Aron is buried right there. Shenemar ve'arichu abadim. It says that the poles extended and it's there. Ada yoim hazeh. Says Rav Shimon Achai, the Aron is right there today, buried underneath. As we'll see a bunch of stories about this in a moment. Amar le Rabbi Ula my mashma. Where do we see this in the Torah? D'chsev you sham ada yoim hazeh. Says the Gemara, really? The words Ariyim Hazeh mean mamish, realistic until nowadays. But we find elsewhere that it says that the Yevusi Yoshev Yishlayim lo Yerishu b'nei Binyamin. The pasuk says that the Yevusi, the Yevusi, Yoshev Yishlayim, they lived in Yerushalayim, lo Yerishu b'nei Binyamin, and the children of Binyamin did not inherit. Vayeshav Yevusi is b'nei Binyamin b'Yerushalayim, they sat in Yerushalayim ad hayoim hazeh. So it sounds like the Yevusi were in Yerushalayim all the way until nowadays. But says the Gemara, it's not true. Hachanami to Galu, is that true? They never went into Galus? But it's not true. For 52 years there was no one there. Kina, they lamented the fact that there was no one in Yerushalayim for 52 years. So says the Gemara, how can you tell me that Ada Yoma Hazeh means literally Ada Yoma Hazeh? Ki nitzah mibli ish. There was absolutely no one that passed by. Now they didn't hear the voice of any of the cattle for the birds until the animals not to do halachu, they all wandered and they went away. Says the Gemara, and how long did they go away from? Interesting Gemara. They left for 52 years. Eretz Yisrael was desolate and abandoned. So we see clearly that the Yevusi were not there forever. For 7 years. What happened? There was sulfur throughout Eretz Yisrael. That the bris was for 1 week, referred to 7 years. That they forsaken the treaty, the bris of Hashem. Save Sham. So I'm sorry, so that's the teretz already. So it says the Gemara, says the Gemara, so what do we see? We see that the fact that it says Ada Yoma Hazeh is not real. Because by the Yevusi, it says Ada Yoma Hazeh. Yet the Gemara just concluded and proved that for 52 years, Yerushalayim was desolate. Answers the Gemara, Amar Lei, Sham. Sham. If it says they were there, Shama, they were there, Ada Yoma Hazeh, then that means it was always there, but not over here. Says the Gemara, really? Is that true as well? Is that true? That whenever it says Sham means they were always there? Meisvei, Umehem ben Bnei Shimon Holchu. The Pasuk says, and some of them, the sons of Shimon, Holchu Larsir, they went to Arsir, Anoshim Chamish Me'ois, 500 men who plot Yona Reov, Rafael, Uziel, Ben Yeshiva Raisham, Platin, Rafi, and Uziel, who were home, they were all the Bnei Yishi, the children of Yishi at their head, V'yakosh years up later, and they hit the leftover people that were there, Lamalek, V'yeshu Sham, Ada Yoma Hazeh. So here it says Sham and Ada Yoma Hazeh. So it sounds like they were there forever, according to that which we said. But says the Gemara, it's not true. Kfar Alu Sancheiriv Melech Asher Bilbel Kol Haratzais. But we learned that Sancheiriv went and he mixed up everyone up. Shneimar, as the Pasuk says, V'asir Gvulos Hamim. The Pasuk teaches us V'asir Tzeihem Seisi. Then what do we see? That he removed all the people and he made them all mixed up. So says the Gemara, clearly they were not there at Yoma Hazeh. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Te Yofta. Amar Nachman, back to the Aron, where is Aron? Tanim learned in the Mishnah of Chacham Maimrim Aron Belishkas the Aron. So for we learned it went to Bavel one sheet. Another sheet was that it went to exile 2 times. The third sheet was it was buried inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Now says the Gemara of Nachman says, you know where the Aron was? It was hidden in the Lishkas Dira Eitzim, the room in the Beis Hamikdash, the chamber of the wood Ganuz. That is where it is hidden. Amar Nachman Yitzchak and Anam, we learned similarly. We also learned it was hidden there. How do we know? Again, hopefully this should sound familiar. We had these stories in Shkalim. There was a story with the Kohen Shaya Misasik. Varoya Ritzva Mishuni. So the floor was a little bit different. The tile was a little bit off. He told his friend before he was able to point out the area, till his neshama left him. Clearly Hashem did not want to reveal the place that the Aron is, Yadu B'yichad Shesham Aron Gaznos, and they knew clearly that's where the Aron was. So a third sheet to where the Aron was buried. Mayavi Avid says the Gemara. It says he was misasik. What was this guy doing? What was this guy doing? Amarav Chalvai misasik b'kardumaya. He was playing with his hatchet. Tanvi Rabbi Yishmael Shnei Kohanim Balei Muminai Matliam Be'itzim. They were making sure there are no worms inside the wood. V'nishla Kardumai Shalachan. One of their axe heads flew off. And it flew sham and it fell in that area. The Yatsa Eish V'Achlasa, and the Eish consumed the hatchet, the Eish, which was the area where the Aron HaKodesh was buried. Rav Yehuda Ramiksiv asked Rav Yehuda here in the Psukim, it says, Vayara'u Rashi Abadim. Vayira'u Rashi Abadim. One hand it says you could see, it's visible, the head of the poles of the Aron. Uksiv Lo Yaru Achutza. But on the other hand, the Pasuk says they were not visible outside. Okay, that were the poles of the Aron. Visible or not, says the Gemara, Nirin, Veinoy Nirin. They were able to be seen, but they were not able to be seen. The Gemara is explaining that you're able to see their indentation, as we'll see in a moment, that basically the staves, as we've seen already, stuck into the pareiches, and we saw a picture last. It sticks in, and it makes an indent inside the pareiches. Tanami achi, we prove this, says the Gemara of Yiru Rashi Abadim. You think they never left their place? That the poles extended all the way inside the pareiches. Maybe they extended all the way and made a hole in the pareiches. The Yoitzin went all the way through. They didn't see another side. So on Ketzad, what's going on with the bottom of the Aron? Ketzad Deichen Baltim Yoitzin Bepareiches that pushed in and made an indent into the Pareiches in there. Kishnei the Isha, like the breast of a woman, it's sticking out a bit of a protrusion. Shenamar Tzuror Amar Daidi. A bundle of myrrh is beloved to me, being shada yalin, that it's lodged between the breasts. This is showing us that the bottom of the aron were sticking out a little bit. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Katina. Now that we just showed a symbolism of Hashem in Klal Yisrael, the Kodesh HaKadoshim says Rav Katina, Bishoshi Yisrael Oila L'Regel, fasting in Klal Yisrael, Oila L'Regel for the 3 Yom Tovim. What happened? Migal Glemes HaPareiches. They would pull back the Pareiches. They would reveal the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Umarin Lemes HaKruvim, and in Ganze Klal Yisrael, everyone would see the Kruvim. Shay Ma'urim Zebazeh. They were hugging each other like husband and wife. Amru Lahem, and they would tell Klal Yisrael, Ru'uchi Baschem L'Vnei Amakim. Look how much Hashem loves you. And they gave her the 2 pareiches, his hugging depiction of Klal Yisrael and Hashem, husband and wife, and that was the picture that they would show everyone. They would pull back the curtain so everyone would be able to see in Kodesh HaKadoshim when they were Oila Regel. Massive Rav Chisda, says Rav Chisda, really? Is that true what you just said? Says Rav Chisda, but the pasuk teaches that the Leviim should not come and look into the Kodesh. He's referring to putting the kelim inside their containers, into places. So says the Gemara, we see clearly you're not allowed to look into Kodesh HaKadoshim. So how are you telling me now they pulled back the curtain and all of Klal Yisrael were able to see? Says the Gemara, Amar Nachman Mashal, I'll tell you what this is analogous to. Lekala, to Kala, a bride calls Manji Bebeis Aviyah before she gets married. Tsunua mi baila. She hides. She's not so open with her husband. But when they move into the father-in-law's house, she's no longer snua. Of course, she's a tznua, but it means that she doesn't keep anything away from her husband. So the Gemara is proving so too. But Klal Yisrael with Hashem, the Ba'ila Regel, after the Beis Hamikdash was built, at that level, such an intense ahava, such an intense love, where you're even able to see they pulled back the curtain all the way into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Master Rav Chanan bar Rav Katina, not so fast. The Kohen was playing, and what happened? We said the Kohen died because he wanted to show where the Aron was. Says the Gemara. So what's the problem? Clearly they did not know. Amar le niskarsha. So it must be that Klal Yisrael was divorced, meaning Hashem said, I'm sorry, you can't know where the Aron is anymore. Niskarsha kamrit. Says the Gemara, niskarsha chazal chibasa rishayna, goes back to the original. What does that mean? It means now it's a bit more modest. It means we cannot see any longer into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Says the Gemara, with what are we referring to? What's going on? Like we saw 2 days ago. It said they pulled back the Mikdash Rishon. I'm sorry, excuse me. They pulled back the Paraychas and they saw the Aron. What's going on? The Paraychas is only Mikdash Sheni. Aron was only Mikdash Rishon. So what's going on? Says the Gemara, El Mikdash Sheni. Miyave Kruvim, were they Kruvim? Answers the Gemara, El Mikdash Rishon. Umay Paraychas de Bavi. Says the Gemara, you're right. There wasn't the Paraychas by the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It was a Paraychas to the entrance into the Beis HaMikdash. There were other Paraychas in the Beis HaMikdash. Amarav, Zira Marav. Shloisha Aser Paraychas Hayba Mikdash. There were 13 Paraychas by the Beis HaMikdash. Shiva Keneged Shiva Sha'arim. 7 opposite the 7 gates. Shtayim Achas Lepischa Shalecha Bachas Lepischa Shal Ulam. Shtayim Bedivir. 2 by the Shtayim b'devir, 2 by the inside the kodesh, Shtayim connected ba'aliyah, 2 by the upper floor. We'll see a picture of this in one moment, but let's just see one more. Taras of Achav Yaakov Amar L'Olam b'mikdash sheni. If it's mikdash sheni, so where is the Aron? Says the Gemara, Kruvim d'tzuras avekaima. The image of the Kruvim on the wall of the Kodesh HaKadoshim still existed, meaning there was no Aron Kodesh, there were no hugging Kruvim, but on the wall of the Kodesh HaKadoshim there was a picture of the Kruvim. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, the S, called Kiras Habayis Masiv Kela, that all the walls of the Beis Hamikdash were surrounded by designs, Kruvim Utmurais, Kruvim V'Timairis U'Peturei Tzitzim, Kruvim palm trees and blossoming flowers. This answers a question I'm sure many had when you see a lot of these pictures, like what are their trees doing there? Why are there palm trees? We see from this pasuk, V'Siba Zav Meishes Al Machuka, and the pasuk says, and they were overlaid with gold, Uksiv Kemar Ishel Leviais, like a man with his companion, like a man and wife. That the picture is drawn on the walls of the Kodesh HaKadosh. My Kemar Ishel Leviais Amarava Rav Shila. What does it mean, like a person with his companion? As we turn over, Tun and Dalim Abeis Keish. Like a person hugging, joined together with his companion. Before we see further, let's just see what we just saw in picture. Says the Gemara, there were 7 curtains connected. The 7 gates. Over here you see the 3 sha'arim gates that we've seen already, and you actually can see, if you look closely, the curtains inside. This is the other side of the base. You see the 3 sharm with the 3 curtains, and finally you see the Shar Ezra Mizrachi, the 7th, as you see the curtain opening to the door. Here's a bit of a clearer picture. You even see that golden chandelier, like we've learned about. And now let's continue. Amar Reish Lakish. We are on Daladim and Beis, the top line. When the Goyim went into the Beis Hamikdash, they saw the Kruvim were hugging each other. Says the Gemara, they brought them out to the marketplace for Amri Yisrael Alalu. Jews, their blessings are blessings, their curses are curses. Look what they're busy doing. They're involved in these matters of sitting and hugging miyad ezilam. Immediately they made them. They were mezalzel in the kruvim shenemar v'chol machbada zilua kiro ervasa. Oh, they respected her. They debased her because they saw them undressed. And over here, there's lots of mefarshim that deal exactly what's going on over here. Obviously, there was nothing inappropriate. These are the kruvim. They are representative of Shemayim and Aretz, of Hashem and Klal Yisrael hugging each other. But this is, some mefarshim explain this is another application, how the Goyim took something, how the non-Jews took something that inherently is not profane. Inherently, there's nothing inappropriate about it. Yet, they took it and they debased it. They were mezalzel it. This was one of those origins, as we see over here. They took the kruvim, and even there they said, look, Klal Yisrael, look what you're busy dealing with. Of course it's not. Of course it's beautiful. And it's something to realize that we can't lose track of the ultimate beauty, of the ultimate what should be, and not get our brains tainted by society. We see that in this Gemara, says the Gemara, like Nikras, and in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, when they took out the Aron, what was there? There was a rack, and the rack was called Shesisa. Says the Gemara, Tana, we learned in the Mishnah, Hushtas from there. This is the Evan Shatia. This was the rack that the whole world was created, was sitting inside there in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Says the Gemara, K'tanan K'mandam, we learn like K'mandam that holds Mitzion Nivra Ha'ilam. Mitzion, from Zion, from this rock, that's how the world was created. Now we're going to see a bit about the creation of the world, the Tanya, and again, as always, we're just going to give the simple translation. There's always more in deeper pshatim. Rav Eliezer Aimer Oilam Mem Siyos Nivra. Says Rav Eliezer, the world was created from the center. Shenemar B'tzakis Avar L'Moitzeik or Gavayim Yedab Kua. It started with a little rock and it kept it adding, making it bigger and bigger and bigger. There was a matter in the middle. The matter was them in Shtia, and then the world expanded. Rav Yeshua argues, and he says, no, the world is created that there were pieces elsewhere, and then all those pieces combined together to create the world. Shenemar Kilisheleg. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Kilisheleg. Yomar have eretz v'geshem moitrais uzay. Geshem mater v'geshem moitrais uzay. The pasuk says, to the snow became the earth, the showers became the showers, the mighty rains, basically proving to us that all the different particles all fused together to create the world. Rav Yitzchak Navchar Amar, what does he say? A third opinion, Even Yara HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem threw a stone biyam into the sea, mimenu nishtas ha'olam, and from there the earth was created, Shenemar Alma Dunia Hitavoi, that from there the earth was drowned literally. Oy Min Yara Evan Penisa, or like one who cast down the cornerstone into the ocean, and from there the world came out. But Chachamim, a fourth opinion, says the Gemara Mitzion Nevra came from Seir and Shnemar Mizra Asaf Ela Loikim Hashem. A Mizra Asaf by Hashem is mighty. Then the pasuk says V'Aimer Mitzion Mechlal Yoifi, that from Sion came the beauty. Mimenu Moichlav Yoifev Shalom. We dash that from there the beauty of the world began, and that's the fourth and final opinion of the Chachamim, which of course is that which our Gemara concurs with, that the beauty came from Sion, from the Evan Shtia. That's where the world was created. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso of Rav Lezer HaGadol Omer. Rav Lezer HaGadol says with regards to the creation of the world, they'll told us Hashamayim v'aretz. These are the generations of Shamayim v'aretz, be baram, as they were created. B'yoim asayis Hashem Elokim, the day that Hashem our God made Eretz Shamayim, the land and the heavens. Told us Shamayim and Mishamayim. These teach us that He made the generations of heavens, all the future heavens, from the heaven itself. Told us Aretz me'aretz Nivru. That's how the world was created. The Chachamim Ayrim, this is now a sixth opinion if you're keeping track. So 4 in the first place, and now we just had Rav Lezer HaGadol. Now we have the Chachamim Elu Mitzion Nivru. Everything came from Sion. So it's not a 6. This is really like the opinion we saw before. Shnemer Mizlah Asaf Elokim Hashem Davar V'Yikra Eretz Mimizach Shemesh Ad Mevoyoi V'Omer Mitzion Bechlal Yoifi Elokim Haifiyah Mimenu Machlav Yoifi of Shalaylam. So 5 different opinions how the world was created. And again, we got into this because we said that where the Aron HaKodesh go was either hidden or went into exile. Machlekes we saw yesterday, and what was in its place was Arak, Evan, Shtia. The cornerstone was sitting there inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, and that stone, says the Gemara, according to the Chachamim, is where the world was created. Ki mitzion. It came from Sion. We saw different opinions, whether it started with this little rock and expanded, or whether all the matter of the world went together. That's the creation of the world, and we'll pick up from this last line tomorrow.